All right, so what is your name?
Dolores Clinebell. Cheek was my maiden name. I was married to Clinebell.
What year were you born?
1923.
And where are you from originally?
Up from here.
Okay.
I was born in Kentucky, but my family moved to a farm out around Wheelersburg right after I was born. And we had a big family and a big farm out there. We lived out in Wheelersburg.
Great. And you grew up in Sauter County your whole life?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
I went to Greene. I went to Greene Township School and graduated, and I went in the service after I got out of it was from World War II, and I entered the service when I was 20. I was old enough to go in, and I went in the Waves, and I stayed in the service for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And then that was my history and my service record. You want me to tell you what all I did?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just so we have a good record here. What branch of the service were you in?
I was in the Waves, in the Navy.
Oh, okay. And I wasn't familiar with that term. Okay, what is Waves is?
Women's auxiliaries. I don't know. Whatever. The Waves.
Something.
The Waves is what they called us.
Okay. And what year was that?
It would have been about 1942 something. I graduated in 41. As soon as I was old enough, the war was going on. I went on. I got in the service shortly after I was out of school.
Great. And while you were in the Waves, what did you do? What was your job?
Oh, we had a terrific job. We built this machine, which well, I wrote a letter about it. I wrote a story about it, but it's I can't remember anything. It's what was actually as a computer-like thing. But before we even had computers, and this was one of the first things that was a computer, and it was a German Navy's engine machine. It was a mechanical rotors and complex electrical connections, and cycled through all possible cipher combinations until it found the right one. We put a number in this machine, and it would we just decoded. There's a decode machine.
Oh, okay.
Decode messages. And it's hard to explain. It was all secret. We didn't. It was not until after the war was over. Nobody ever even knew that we had this machine. But I wrote it in this book. I wrote about it, but you probably can't. I'll probably will have to explain it to you. It's hard to explain.
Well, as long as you've got the book there, could you hold it up so that we can get a good picture of the front of it? And
well, this is all the people I was in the service with. And we all wrote letters of what we did when we were in the service. This was just published from, I think, it's a memorial of World War II. Time to remember. So it's all different people that was in the service wrote letters, and they published them.
Oh, wonderful!
Volunteer office did it for us, I think.
Great.
And but I have all my other. I have the regular Navy records here, some of them, but they're unorganized. After all the years, I don't know what you would want or what would be interested in or anything. But I know one thing. It was all secret. We did what we actually did. We decoded messages. It was all secret. And
where were you living during that time? Were you stationed?
I was stationed in 4 different places. I took my basic in New York, and then I was transferred to Washington D.C., which I was that was well, we really didn't care to go, but. And at one time they transferred us to Minnesota, and we were all the time I was in the service, we were building this decode machine. It wasn't any very interesting. we built that, we soldered and worked and built that, wired that decode machine. That's
And-
before, yeah, that was before a computer was ever heard of.
Where was it? The group you were working with, were they all women and
Mostly
And
waves. And of course, we had a couple men, some men, but it was all, it was mostly men, but mostly women. We did all, we soldered. It was very boring, We had these blueprints, and we'd go in every day, and get a blueprint and a pile of wires and solder and sit there and that, at that time the thing wasn't as modern as it is now. They probably got an easy way of doing it now, but we'd get a wire and heat it with the soldering iron and drop a little drop of solder in a little cup and that stuck the wire in it, and we wired that machine up. Someone in Dayton invented that machine. It really was supposed to have been the end of the war. It helped to win the war.
Oh wow!
It decoded all the messages. Were as before, they didn't have any way of decoding them. I guess before they invented that.
Right.
Some man in Dayton that invented it. And we decoded. I decoded messages to just a telegraph. After we built the machines, that's all I ever did. It was so boring. But I went in to help win the war. That's what we did.
That's fantastic. So when you were entering into the service, how did your family feel about it? I mean,
well,
generally
I come
it was
from a
the
big
men
family.
going.
I lived we lived on a farm, and we had a big family. Of course, it's hard to keep a big family, and it wasn't easy. So they were glad when we decided to go into the service. My whole family most of them were in the service at one time or another. But they were glad that, I was happy, and I went to New York and took my basic, and then I sent me back to Washington, D.C., and most of the time I was in the service. I was either building those machines, and one time they sent us to St. Paul, Minnesota, to work to finish building them. It was a long process. They could do it now, I guess, a lot easier. But it was just a wire, one little wire at a time, and they had millions of wires. And we'd read the blueprints and put a little cup of solder in the pan and put a wire in it and wired them all up. But originally it was coming from Dayton, the man that invented that machine. It was supposedly won the war.
So they
didn't have anything to decode messages with before at that time, and that decoded the messages that caused, that they could send all the messages that you can imagine that now probably, but at that time, before them, there was no way of they could send messages without anybody knowing them.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
But I don't know. I'm not very much at the interview, and I don't know how to tell you what to. Except that I felt like it was very important, and it was quite an honor. We got several honors from doing it.
Did you have a background in electrical anything?
No, it wasn't. All you had to have was patience. You didn't need any brains or pain. The man that invented the machine was the one that had all the brains, I guess. All we had to do was read the blueprints and wire them.
Wow.
Because, that's part of my life. I don't know how to tell you any more in the details of it. I wrote a book. I wrote a story on it, but and it's been so long ago that I've forgotten a lot of it. But I did think it'd be nice, to know that there was really that machine that we built. We really saved the one war because
that's fantastic.
While we wired those. But now I don't think I can remember very much to tell you about them.
How after after your time in the service, did you come back to Scioto County and live there again? What was it like when you came home? Had the town changed? Was it different?
Well, sometimes I wish I'd never come back home. No, I came back and I had a good job in the county recorder's office. I worked for Harold Haynes for about 30 years, and I got married. My marriage didn't last, and I had a daughter, and I had to work all the time, raise my daughter by myself, and he wouldn't help me raise her. So it was a good life. She turned out wonderful. She's great. She's got very intelligent and a very good job in Louisville. But that's those things you like to forget. But I've had a real good life. I've enjoyed all of it. I was particularly interested in the machine. And now the flood. Did I tell you about anything about the flood?
Oh, no, go ahead.
You want any more? I want any more about the book, about the bomb.
Yeah, okay, first of all, would you hold that up again so we can get a good picture of the cover? And you said you were contributing.
Yeah,
you
this
were
was
part of it?
It was a group. We all wrote letters from this volunteer group. We volunteered with the women volunteer.
Okay.
And we wrote these books. We all wrote a story about about World War II, and that's what I brought. I had some other things here, some certificates and things about the machine.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It was all secret. We weren't allowed to open our mouth. We couldn't tell anybody anything about what we were doing.
So the whole time you were there, nobody knew?
No. Well, not supposedly. They probably did. And it wasn't supposed to be outside that anyone could hear, what we were doing there in Dayton. This is one. Here's one. I have a certificate of. I guess that's from the retired senior volunteer programs. They honored us for that, and I had a picture of the whole group of us all when I was there. I've forgotten. I'm very unorganized. I didn't, I've been in these papers for years. I don't even know what I have got here. But we had several write-ups and several honors during that time. I had a picture of the machine on that.
Oh. Is that...
Let's see, it's a cryptolog. The picture of the machine itself was called a bombe, B-O-M-B-E. And we wired that machine, we made it, we built it. And then after we got it built, the first one, this is a picture of the first one, what we did, we could, we could decode messages.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to, the machine itself was a huge, big old thing.
It looks like it stands taller than a person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a girl there operating it. It's we'd put a little tape in a wheel and put it on that great big huge machine, and you'd run dozens and dozens and dozens of them, and sometimes maybe once in a while you'd get hit. It was supposedly supposed to, I guess we weren't, it's all secret. We weren't supposed to know what we was doing or talk about it or anything else, but when we'd get hit, we'd have to run it, to the office real quick. It was supposedly, I guess we could tell when bombs were hitting or where people were going to bomb or where the war was, where they were fighting the war. All on that machine. They really said it won the war.
Wow.
But I think that was really the beginning of computers. I don't think you ever seen anything like this before. Never saw a computer then. See, we didn't have anything like that. We was lucky to have a typewriter. But wish I could tell you more about it.
What is that you have?
This is the one that I had. It's an exceptionally old service award. It's who, while on assignment, United States Navy Intelligence OP-20G, rendered exceptionally service on Project Ultra to the breaking of German and Japanese codes during World War II, therefore contributing to the saving of many lives and bringing of World War II to an earlier victory. Of historical interest in this connection is the fact that the valuable cryptological accomplishment of the United States Naval Intelligence OP-20G was the foundation which led to the establishment of the National Security Agency. It's that 50th anniversary.
Could you flip it around so we can see a picture of it? And just hold it for a second. Oh, great.
I don't know. I had some other awards there that I don't think were. I save all this. I've never been in it for. We had conventions. With the girls and all the people that worked on this project. We had several different conventions after we got out of the war, you know, and that was so many. I don't know how long ago it was. It's 50 years or more, I guess. It's when I still. And this is one for Certificate of Merit to me. That was, I think I showed that was from a volunteer program. And I've got all the literature and stuff on that, but I haven't read it so long, and I didn't prepare it. I should have prepared it better, so you could have got a better idea of what it was all about, but maybe they're not interested anyway, I don't know. But
Could you hold up that picture of the thing? Would you hold that up for a second? Maybe we can get a picture of it.
This is the one. This is a girl, the waves of silence. We weren't allowed to tell anybody anything that we did. We supposedly, and then there's a million of us working on it.
Is that what you all wore when you were working on things?
That's the way we decode the messages.
Okay.
We put a little tape on a little wheel and screw it up and put it on that huge big machine. That machine, someone in Dayton invented that, and that was they called it a bombe, B-O-M-B-E, and that was. It said this is a wave operating a bomb as part of a super secret and unheard of project during World War II. But we were never allowed to ever. We were never.
Can't say anything about this.
But I'm sure probably a lot of people did know about it. But we were fortunate enough we had it right there in Washington D.C. And I think later on, I went to St. Paul. We went up there and did some St. Paul, Minnesota. We worked on a project up there that's connected with it too, somehow or other. And then I went back to Dayton when we finished it up. And I come my little home. No, come home. I didn't have a little home, man. But that was all. I don't know what else, if there's anything else interesting about it that you'd want to know or not. I'm sorry that I'm not better prepared, but I didn't plan to ever use these, or just old keepsakes, and I just thought, well, it'd be nice. It really, they always said that this machine won the war, because if they hadn't had a machine that would detect where the ships were, the enemy ships, so they could drop the bombs that would help win the war.
Yeah. I think that's so exciting that someone.
It was so boring. And all the time I was in the service, everything's secret. Don't tell nobody. You can't tell anybody anything. And I felt like, well, I've wasted 4 years not telling anybody anything. But I stayed in until after the war was over, and I enjoyed it. But at the time, it was so boring. We were young, and we had work shifts. Those machines went continually all night long, overnight, on all us women. Just big crews of women, waves going around those machines. And I doubt that most people probably didn't even realize, that that's what it was, a decode machine. It just decoded those messages, and I don't know how they did it, but they did.
Wow. That sounds like that was a really important thing that you all got to do.
Yeah, it was all secret, so it don't have to be top secret anymore. I wish I'd have been better prepared for it.
Oh.
I feel like and it's been so long. Well, you can imagine how many years it's been since I've been in I'm 88 now, and I was 20 then. So I've done a lot, and I've forgotten a lot of it too. I wrote the story in this for that organization, but I didn't. I've never had it out since. I haven't. I very seldom ever think about it. But I thought, well, that's my opportunity to tell people that I did do something during the war.
Aw, I'm glad you talked to us. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I have forgotten so much. I imagine this is my last. Maybe the last time. I probably have to get rid of these papers and forget it all. But I'm glad that I had the opportunity, to speak and tell about it.
Yeah.
I don't know now the people that were in the war. Maybe most of them weren't even here. A lot of them weren't born when we had the war, and they were born with these computers and things. So we had no other way. There was no way to detect to see where the enemy ships were or anything else before we made that machine. And I really think down deep that was the very beginning of computers. Mm-hmm. I think that was just a computer. It would have had to been.
Yeah. Well, we're going to keep these tapes at the library, and anybody that wants to watch them can watch them. Is there any sort of life advice that you want to give people that might be watching this?
Live long, live good, work hard, and be happy.
Great. Thank you so much for talking with us today.
Did I say about anything about what was it besides the service was I going to talk about?
Oh, did you have a story about the 1937 flood?
It was very short. It's a very short story.
Go for it.
I lived out in the country, and we didn't know that was a creek. We didn't know anything about it. There's always waters around. But the creeks came up, but we didn't. It didn't get in our place, our home, and our cousins lived across the field from us, and they got some water. They came over and lived with us, and they moved in with us for a few days, until they could get back into their homes. But it didn't really affect us out there. And I can remember coming downtown after the flood and seeing what horrible damage it had done. Of course, we were just out there in the country, and we could just see fields of water, and it wasn't. We lived quite a ways from a creek.
Right.
But it was hard for the people that did go through with it. Because I can remember coming downtown, going through Kresge's, right after the flood, and the mud and stuff everywhere, where it'd been. It wasn't mud, but it was just the results of it. Yeah. I wish I could have told it in a better way, but my mind, I'm so forgetful anymore, and I can't remember anything. But I thought, well, this is this one last opportunity that I'm going to go and have it put in the library.
Great. I'm glad you did. I think you did really well.
We used to have a reunion every year. The few waves that were left. Of course, now, at our ages, there's very few of us. I don't even know they're left. But we'd have a reunion every year, and we'd get together and talk about it. But at the time, it was so monotonous. Yeah. you wouldn't believe how hard it was just run those codes all day long and check them. But there's about 1 million women. We won the war that way, we hoped. But we didn't do it by ourselves. There's a lot of them on the battlefields that are doing the work. But you don't hardly ever hear much about the war anymore either, do you? They don't realize. I bet you weren't even born when the war. Were you born?
Oh no.
Well, I hope you never had that experience. Well, I don't think there's anything else I can say. I don't know. I know I haven't really made good sense, but I did the best I could.
You did beautiful.
Thank you.